Hello everyone, and thanks once again for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm David Percy. Up first, fire danger map. Copper River Basin showing a big change from yesterday. 24 hours ago they were all low. Now there's extreme to very high fire danger over that way, and Susitna Valley mostly very high as the fire danger goes, and then down toward northern Cook Inlet and into the western Kenai Peninsula area, down high to very high fire danger. Not much change there from what it's been, and some reduction in fire danger you can see over the eastern interior due to some showers and wetting rains that moved in overnight last night with a thunderstorm activity into the eastern interior there. For example, Chino Ridge northeast of Fairbanks picking up a little over 4/10 of an inch of precipitation. Nenana had 1/10 of an inch. Otherwise, still a lot of extreme fire danger in the Yukon Flats, with very high fire danger all the way up into the Brooks Range there at Arctic Village. And now the North Slope showing central and eastern North Slope, high to very high fire danger there. This is for spruce. I'm not sure how much in the way of spruce they have on the North Slope, but anyway, still some pretty high fire dangers up that way. And southwest interior with all the rain, persistent rain, pretty slack southern Kuskokwim Valley. Down to Bristol Bay, low fire danger there, as well as the southern Kenai Peninsula. Enough moisture came in yesterday, knocking it back to low fire danger there from about, I believe, roughly Anchor Point southward into Homer, Seldovia, and Port Muller in those areas. Otherwise, satellite imagery showing lots of clouds buildups extending from the eastern Alaska Range, with thunderstorm activity extending in from the Whitehorse Dawson area, extending northwestward across the central interior right up to the western Arctic coast and beyond. Lightning strikes out over the Arctic Ocean detected here this afternoon along that area of convection that again extends in a broken line southeastward over toward the eastern interior to near Eagle. And some pretty good thunderstorms developing this afternoon over the eastern interior, being triggered by temperatures rising into the upper 80s, 88 degrees at mid-afternoon. Eagle, 87 at Chokyitzik, for example. Temperatures being held down by clouds and smoke in the Fairbanks area, just now getting up around 80 degrees in that area. But down across Copper River Basin, very nice conditions. Sunshine, northern Cook Inlet, sunshine today. Anchorage up into the Matanuska-Susitna Valley, northern Kenai Peninsula. Temperatures in the 70s to lower 80s by mid-afternoon. But farther to the south, picking up the clouds there, southern Kenai Peninsula in toward Homer, and then the rain occurring over the southwest interior, Kodiak Island, with that frontal boundary stalled out over the western southwest part of the state, and then extending north-northwest across the Seward Peninsula and the northwest coastal areas. Otherwise, some bands of moisture out over the Bering Sea, bringing some shower activity to the Pribilofs, light amounts into the Alaska Peninsula. Another surge there around Adak, and yet another one back out toward Shemya. Otherwise, some low clouds and fog early on along the coast of the Panhandle. But a dry day with partly mostly sunny skies down that way with light winds. And the thunderstorm activity on the map today here from the western Arctic coast and the Arctic Ocean there southeastward into that thermal low just over the eastern interior there, with thunderstorm activity beginning to develop now over the eastern Alaska Range, just east-northeast in Abesna, and up toward Northway in those areas. But areas of rain over the southwest interior, Kodiak Island picking up a little over an inch of rain in the last 24 hours, while 2/3 of an inch fell at Igigik and King Salmon. Dillingham had half an inch of precipitation, Togiak, and then on up to Marshall there, along across the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, picking up around 2/10 of an inch, and then lighter amounts up about, I believe, 1/10 of an inch at Nome or so, over toward actually Teller, Tin City, and those areas. Otherwise, for tonight, that remnants of that frontal boundary I have drawn in as a trough there keeps showers, areas of light rain going pretty much stuck on the west-southwest side of the upper level ridge over the eastern interior northwest Canada, as that front keeps it wet, but the rainfall amounts will be lighter over Kodiak Island tonight. But look for low clouds, fog, rain, and drizzle at times throughout the entire night there across all of Kodiak Island up into Kamishak Bay. Rain becoming more showery over Bristol Bay, and as I mentioned, over the southwest interior. Could be a few showers over the Alaska Peninsula. Next system pushing rain and wind into the western Bering Sea and across the Aleutians. And tomorrow, that actually lifts north of the eastern Aleutian areas, and that'll spread rain into the Pribilof Islands and then along the frontal boundary back to the west over the western Aleutians. Areas of rain and showers, southwest interior again, keeping temperatures cooler in the cloudy skies there. But partly and mostly sunny, south central Alaska, highs 70s to lower 80s, and anywhere in the 80 to 90 degree range from the Copper River Basin up into the central interior areas around Eagle. Dry over the north slope, possible low clouds and fog along the coast, but also chance of sunshine, and then thunderstorm activity possible over anywhere of interior Alaska, north and west of the Alaska Range. And then for the day on Monday, much of the same thunderstorm activity from actually possibly the Talkeetnas northward, the Alaska Range. All of interior could have thunderstorms developing anywhere, with throw the smoke in there as well. Areas of smoke continuing, mostly again west and north of the Alaska Range, or northwest of the Alaska Range where it's been. And chance of thunderstorms over toward the border of the Panhandle, low clouds, fog, and drizzle along the coast and the eastern Bering Sea. And the front brings more rain into the western Aleutians, pushing eastward to Adak in the afternoon. Weak trough with some moisture for the Yukon Delta coast. And lows tonight, upper 30s for the central and eastern Arctic coast, otherwise 40s to lower 50s for the north slope, and 55 to 60 for the interior, 50 to 55 southern Alaska, near 50 for Bristol Bay, mid 40s out over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, upper 40s for the Alaska Peninsula, lower 50s for the southeast coast. Highs tomorrow, upper 60s to near 80 for the Panhandle, warmest up toward Haines and Skagway, mid 70s for the Juneau area, otherwise 85 to 90 for the Fairbanks area and the Yukon Flats, and 70s, mid 70s, upper 60s to upper 70s call it for south central Alaska, Copper River Basin, northern Kuskokwim Valley areas. Lower 60s recovering somewhat over the Bristol Bay area, upper 50s Kodiak Island. And for the lows on Monday morning, mid to upper 30s central and eastern Arctic coast, otherwise quite mild in the interior once again, 55 to 62 for the lows, and then cooling back to near 50 as you head to the west and southwest, with upper 40s for the Yukon Kuskokwim Delta, Bristol Bay, mid to upper 40s Alaska Peninsula, lower 50s for the Panhandle, and upper 40s to mid 50s south central Alaska, followed by highs 70 to 80 south central Alaska, mid 80s Copper River Basin, 70s to mid 80s in the Panhandle.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather, IFR along the Arctic coast, VFR north slope southward into southern Alaska, and then you pick up some marginal VFR there, Prince William Sound, up into the Coast Range, central eastern Kenai Peninsula, and also western Alaska Range down across areas of Bristol Bay. IFR along the southwest coast, Nunivak Island through the Bering Strait, up to the Point Hope Cape Lisburne area and the western Arctic coast. Solid IFR in northern Bering Sea to the Pribilofs, and from Adak westward to Shimianatu, Kodiak Island in the IFR zone. VFR for the Panhandle. Also for Sunday afternoon, Yakutat on down the southeast coast, good VFR. Some marginal VFR lingering along areas of the North Gulf Coast. But generally looking at a VFR flying day from Prince William Sound, Cook Inlet, northeast Bristol Bay, northward, all the way up to the Arctic coast, and you pick up some marginal VFR, some scattered areas of IFR, and a lot of IFR out over the Bering Sea from St. Lawrence Island right on down to Nikolsky, westward to Shemya, also Nunivak Island, the Pribilofs. VFR for the Alaska Peninsula, and marginal VFR for Kodiak Island. Looks like some IFR very close to Cape Chiniak. And then that becomes marginal VFR for Kodiak Island on Monday morning. That extends back up into Bristol Bay and Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, into the Kuskokwim Mountains, at least the southern Kuskokwim Mountains. And IFR, pretty solidly entrenched over the Bering Sea. Again, the Pribilofs down to Atk Island westward, but the Fox Islands, Alaska Peninsula, VFR. VFR for the Panhandle. Areas of marginal VFR for the North Gulf Coast. Interior Alaska, VFR right on to the north slope, but the Arctic coast looking like probably be some IFR going on. And that'll continue into Monday, maybe burning back to near or off the coastline, especially on the eastern Arctic coast in the afternoon. Otherwise, the interior, VFR right on down now into Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, Alaska Peninsula to Unalaska Island. IFR from Nikolsky westward and northward to the Bering Strait. VFR for the Panhandle. And some marginal VFR again, low clouds, maybe some fog for the North Gulf Coast, possibly southern Prince William Sound, southern Resurrection Bay area, but Kodiak VFR. Anaktuvik and Adigan for the Brooks Range, both passes VFR on either approach. Lake Clark and Merrill, good VFR for on west or east entrance. Rainy VFR, windy VFR, as well as Isabel and Mentast Eastern Alaska Range will stay VFR through the day on Sunday. And for Tanita, VFR. Portage, VFR, possible, slight chance of some marginal VFR early on, eastern entrance there, passes Canal Side, but generally looking really good for the day Sunday. And Chilkoot and White, another VFR day there. Freezing levels, 8,000 feet in over the Kenai Peninsula, kind of associated with that dying frontal boundary there, back up to the western Norton Sound area. Otherwise, 10,000 feet plus up over the northeast interior, 12,000 feet over the northwest territories of Canada, and out 10,000 feet right along the Aleutians. Icing, just some areas of isolated moderate rime icing, maybe mixed possibly, but nothing that significant. Kind of a diminished area now, just leftover moisture there from the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, southeast of Bristol Bay, southern Cook Inlet, Kodiak Island, and then a bigger area of possible isolated moderate rime icing pushing into the Bering Sea there, almost making it to the Pribilofs, extending back to the southwest, Amchitka Island to Shimianatu. And looking at the jet stream, westerly flow across the southern Bering Sea, 75 to 95 knots, takes a dive to the southeast across the Alaska Peninsula, and upper level low moves to east at Kodiak Island, also starting to slide southeastward. So we got light variable winds over the mainland Alaska area, northwest Canada, the Panhandle, and the Gulf. Although southerlies 50 knots there through the Bering Strait, just clipping the western Arctic coast. And at 9,000 feet, that wind pattern a little farther to the east, 20 to 25 knots southerlies there from the Yukon Delta northward across the DeLong Mountains, western Arctic coast. Westerlies 30 to 45 knots, southern Bering Sea, and those take a dive to the southeast there, just clipping the Alaska Peninsula, but 25 to 35 knot winds. There, Barren Islands, across Kodiak Island, west 40 for the Aleutians. Turbulence, nothing really that significant in the forecast.
Dual polarization technology is a major upgrade to the current radar system. It allows forecasters a better idea of what's actually out there and can help keep you safe.
Current radar technology transmits and receives information in the horizontal direction, which is very limited. Dual polarization technology, in addition to the horizontal, transmits and receives vertical energy, which allows forecasters to get information about the size, shape, and phase of the precipitation. We can use that information to better determine the precipitation type to expect at your given location.
There you have it. This new technology is currently being installed in radars across the country and is already being used by National Weather Service forecasters to produce better, more accurate forecasts. Learn more here and follow us. Want to know about the future of weather radar? Well, the National Severe Storms Lab has it here with its new phased array radar. Let's check it out.
It's a non-moving radar. It has 4 faces of the antenna, each pointing in different directions. One of the big advantages is that we're seeing so far, it can sample the area around the radar in less than a minute, maybe even a half a minute. And this is 5-6 times faster than what they can do today.
NSSL is leading the development of future weather radar with this project. Learn more here and follow us. The Storm Prediction Center is one of the NOAA weather partners. They are located in the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. Greg Carbon gives us a glimpse into what the SPC does.
Our mission is to analyze and forecast severe thunderstorms and the potential for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds from those thunderstorms across the lower 48 states, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. One of the primary missions of the Storm Prediction Center is the issuance of severe thunderstorm and tornado watches across the country when conditions appear to be coming together to support the development of severe thunderstorms and tornadoes.
The world-class meteorologists in the Storm Prediction Center specialize in severe weather and keeping you safe. Learn more here and follow us.
The National Severe Storms Lab is working on increasing the lead time for severe weather warnings. The national average for tornado warnings is currently 13 minutes, but more notice would be helpful, especially for those in charge of moving large groups to shelter. Warn on Forecast will help forecasters issue hazardous weather warnings earlier. The project will give them more info about the chances of strong winds, large hail, and even tornadoes.
Currently, warnings are created by forecasters looking at the atmosphere outside, understanding its volatility, and then comparing that to how they see the Doppler radar presenting what's going on inside thunderstorms. Warn on Forecast is an idea where we're going to take the massive amounts of satellite, radar, and surface data and stick them all into a very high resolution prediction model. And then by producing new forecasts every 15 or 20 minutes, the forecasters hopefully will be able to use that model to produce warnings that extend out to an hour.
Before the National Weather Service can use this tool, it must be developed and tested. One big challenge will be deciding how to get the model predictions to the forecasters.
I'm going to keep this one very low. I'm just adjusting the track.
These hazardous weather prediction models are going to produce a huge amount of output. And this fire hose of data is just too much for forecasters to handle in real time quickly. So in order to help deal with that, NSSL has developed a related project called Facets. And Facets is the methodology which will enable forecasters to focus very quickly on the most important threats.
Once Warn on Forecast and Facets are proven to be reliable and effective, then forecasters will be better able to inform you of threats nearby. Learn more here and follow us.
The Hazardous Weather Test Bed is located at the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. It is used for experiments that will allow forecasters to learn and apply new technologies.
The Hazardous Weather Test Bed is a really unique space throughout all of NOAA. And this is where the researchers and the operational folks come together in a common space to solve operational problems and to test new research tools that the research community is working on. The goal is to accelerate the transfer from research to operations of the newest tools and techniques.
People come from around the world to collaborate on this unique project.
We can bring together not only NOAA people, but also university people, faculty, researchers, private sector meteorologists, folks working in other countries in meteorology, forecasters can all come together and focus on what the problem of the day is with the forecasters.
Each spring, several experiments occur in the Hazardous Weather Test Bed. Learn more here and follow us.
What are you looking at? And what are you ignoring? Did you notice the NOAA logo in the corner? Forecasters have a lot of information in front of them too. Every second counts during severe weather, and decisions about where to focus are constantly being made. This could be even more challenging in the future. Phased array radar will produce 4 to 6 times more information than what we have now, which brings us to the question researchers are hoping to answer. Will more radar information affect forecasters' decisions?
From our past experiments, we've learned a lot about how forecasters think during the warning decision process, but we've also learned that those thought processes are very complex, and for that reason, we need a better way to be able to track forecasters' cognitive activity.
Inbounds and possibly golf ball sized hail.
An eye tracker is a piece of technology that is used to determine in real time where someone's eye gaze is located. And these eye trackers are typically video-based, which means a camera sits below a computer monitor, and with infrared light and vector analysis, we can determine where a person is looking and how their eyes are moving.
Eye tracking is already being used in the medical field and air traffic control. Using similar research methods, NSSL is discovering the benefit for weather forecasting too. Phased array radar will give forecasters a lot more to think about. Understanding their decision-making process will help researchers develop even more user-friendly tools. So what's the benefit for you? Even better weather warnings. To learn more, check us out online and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Okay, looking at the coastal water forecasts for the
weather
south coast of the
around
Panhandle.
Alaska.
Northwest breeze 15 knots, seas 5 feet. Northwest 10 knots on the north coast. And over the northern inside waters, Lynn Canal Glacier Bay north at 10, northwest 10 for Stevens Passage. Clarence Strait, northwest winds 10 knots, seas 2 feet. And the outlook for Monday, starting the week out with continued light northwest winds all along the coast, 10 to 15 knots, seas 5 feet. And for Clarence Strait, winds will be southerly at 15 knots, northerly at 15 knots for Stevens Passage, then back to south at 15 knots with 3-foot seas for Lynn Canal. Prince William Sound, light variable winds with slight seas for the day Sunday. Same forecast for Cook Inlet, light winds, seas only 2 to 3 feet. North Gulf Coast, east-northeast breeze at 15 to maybe 20 knots, strongest to the west there with seas 6 to 7 feet. Barren Islands, northeast winds 20 knots, seas 7 feet. Kamishak Bay, northwest at 15. And for Monday, Prince William Sound, southwest winds 10 knots, seas 2 feet. Southwest at 10 for Cook Inlet with 3-foot seas, and variable to southwest winds for the North Gulf Coast in the 10 to 15 knot range with seas running around 4 feet. Southwest winds 15 knots for the Barren Islands, and west at 20 for Kamishak Bay. Kodiak Island, north to northeast winds 20 knots, seas to 7 feet. Alaska Peninsula, west winds 15 knots. Bristol Bay, west winds 15 knots. And for Monday, Kodiak Island, west-southwest winds 15 to 20 knots, seas up to 5 feet. For the Alaska Peninsula, west-southwest winds 15 knots, 3 to 5 foot seas, and west 15 knot winds in the forecast for Bristol Bay. Eastern Aleutians, Sunday, south to southwest winds 15 to 20 knots. Central Aleutians, south to southwest winds at 20 to 25 knots. Small craft advisories for the Western Aleutians for southwest winds at 25 knots, seas just under 10 feet. And for Monday, Western Aleutians, south to southwest winds 20 to 25 knots, seas around 8 feet. Central areas, south to southwest at 20 knots. Eastern Aleutians, south to southwest winds 15 to 20 knots, seas running 4 to 6 feet. Southwest coast, Kuskokwim Delta coast, winds will be west at 15 knots. Yukon Delta coast, south at 15 knots. Southeast 15 knot winds for St. Lawrence Island. Southeast winds 20 knots for St. Matthew Island. Pribilofs looking at a south wind on Sunday at 20 knots with seas around 5 feet. And for Monday, south winds 15 knots for St. Paul, St. George, and St. Matthew Island. Southwest coast, south to southwest winds at about 15 knots with 3 to 4 foot seas. And St. Lawrence Island looking at a southeast wind at 15 knots with 5 foot seas and light westerly breeze for Norton Sound at about 10 knots. Eastern Boulevard Sea Coast for Sunday, northeast wind 10 knots, east 15 for the central coast, north winds 15 knots with 3 foot seas for the western Arctic coast, and basically north winds at 10 knots from Cape Beaufort southward to Wales. And then for Monday, they'll swing around to the south. 10 to 15 knots from Wales to Cape Beaufort, seas at about 2 to 3 feet. Light west winds for the western Arctic coast, light easterly winds on the central coast, and light variable winds 5 to 10 knots for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. And for tonight, thunderstorms lingering through the night again from the eastern interior, from the eastern Alaska Range northward to, say, around Eagle, or just a little to the north into the central interior, and then back up to along the western Arctic coast. Otherwise, areas of fog continue, mostly west and north of the Alaska Range, and some showers and areas of light rain linger with that frontal boundary and trough over the southwest interior to the Seward Peninsula. Periods of light rain, fog, and drizzle continue for Kodiak Island. New system pushing an increase in the winds and rain eastward, almost to Unimak Island toward morning, but not quite to the Pribilofs. It stays fair and dry over the Panhandle with low clouds and fog along the coast. Same thing for the North Gulf Coast. For tomorrow, thunderstorms interior Alaska, highs 80 to 85, eastern interior to the Copper River Basin, 70 to 80 south central Alaska. Cooler in the wet weather back to the southwest part of the state. Rain for the Pribilofs, dry for the Panhandle with showers over toward the border, thunderstorms for the Panhandle over towards the border, and anywhere over interior Alaska north of the Alaska Range with highs in the 80s over the central interior to the mid-80s in the Copper River Basin and 70 to lower 80s for the south central Alaska. Rain over the western Aleutians with that frontal system out that way. Otherwise, low clouds and fog cover much of the Bering Strait and Bering Sea.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.